cat means you will bury your bag. 2 class means you need to clean up. 3 class means something needs to be moved. 4 class means it's time to go.
There seems to be a growing want for long-form storytelling on YouTube that I think is slowly being satisfied. For instance, analog horror is a huge genre now, with lore-heavy and long-running series like the Mandela Catalog skyrocketing in popularity. In the same vein, there have been attempts to tell darker, more disturbing stories. Whether or not you enjoy it, series like The Painter prove that there's at least a morbid curiosity for extremely dark stories here on YouTube. And today, I want to talk about one of those dark stories, possibly the most unsettling and disturbing story on YouTube, from a channel that no longer exists. I'm Nightmare Movies, and today I want to introduce you to one of the most disturbing series I have ever watched, Kept Here. The first thing to know about Kept Here is that it is not a passive viewing experience, and not a forgiving one either. The first few videos seemingly don't amount to much, it's just lots of this. And that's a consistent theme throughout the story. There is a purpose to it, however. You see, the person we follow throughout the series has an unhealthy obsession with filming everything he possibly can. And that's also not an excuse for lazy storytelling either. This is a non-linear story we're following, separated into segments frequently. So I'm going to do my best to create a clear narrative to follow. But with that being said, if there's anything any of you watching notice, let me know. Now, let's break down the story tape by tape. Our story starts with our cameraman driving up to a forest in the rain. Nothing particularly interesting happens once he arrives. He just explores the area, filming everything he can, including this pink ribbon tied to a tree and a construction site. The last shot is of a bus in a parking lot, nothing eventful, but later this will take on a whole new meaning. This next tape helps characterize our cameraman into someone with a more distressing hobby. We see shots of a city at night, and our cameraman is just roaming around. Eventually, he finds himself in the back of some apartments, homes where he takes it upon himself to film the insides of. Rounding a corner, he finds himself in another area seemingly under construction, and, naturally, decides to trespass inside. While this is disturbing behavior on its own, it's only going to get worse from here. The cameraman continues to prowl in the night, eventually coming across a group of people. He stands at a distance, slowly zooming in on them, until... Within the series, this is the first time a file name is changed directly from a typical video file name, which contextually usually marks a significant point in the story. However, in Garage, not much really happens. The cameraman just walks around filming a parking garage. It seems to be getting late, around dusk, and this is where we find out why it was so important. Now, keep this man in mind for later. This story is told in a very vague way, and I have some theories that involve this man. As you can tell by the video titles by now, we're hopping around chronological order of these files, and even though this file isn't named, like most of the other videos, I do believe it holds some importance. The cameraman finds himself in a house that's still under construction. He films every floor of it until he stumbles upon a basement. He walks down and starts looking around in the pitch black. He eventually finds a long corridor leading to a room. He slowly creeps closer until... Now, this next clip I don't really think I can show. You can infer what might be shown in this clip from the title, and for some people, it might be where you want to stop watching this series. Cat 1 through 6 shows the cameraman filming the decomposing body of not a cat, but a raccoon within the abandoned building's basement. And I do believe it's real. We can see the head decomposing with maggots crawling all around it. Even with that disgusting visual, there is still some importance to this tape. Underneath the raccoon, there's a piece of paper with something illegible written on it. Before we can read it though, we jump cut to outside. Filming in the dark, the cameraman eventually pans to reveal a large campfire in the distance, and immediately stops filming. It seems that our cameraman has joined whoever it is at this campfire and is filming the embers. As he's filming, someone off screen speaks to him. We only hear the end of a conversation talking about the dead animal. The cameraman tilts up and reveals another person, a friend seemingly of the cameraman. With no answer to his previous question, he asks another interesting one.
What were you telling me earlier about the girl? Dude, do you mind putting the camera down for a minute and actually talking to me?
We harshly jump cut into what looks to be a food court in a mall. This is where the cameraman's behavior turns from voyeuristic to concerning. The cameraman takes us all around the mall until he eventually finds someone who catches his attention, a young blonde girl standing all by herself. The cameraman continues to film her as she walks all around the mall, stalking just out of her view. They make their way into a strange industrial part of the basement, and the cameraman is still filming her. She eventually walks off, and he seemingly gives up on the hunt, but soon enough, he finds another victim, a young girl in a purple jacket, sitting alone. He repeats his actions from earlier and stalks this unknown girl all around the mall. Eventually, she finds herself at an exit door, but she's not going to just leave by herself. She turns around, and just as it seems she might have spotted our cameraman, the title itself is disturbingly self-explanatory. Our cameraman has followed the girl in the jacket home. He hides a long ways away and uses his camera to zoom into her window. This is the first time in the series that the cameraman's actions have gone well beyond just filming strangers. He sits and we watch with him as this girl gets ready for bed. She eventually walks off and the cameraman looks away. We cut after this to 2 more videos that I honestly couldn't make sense of from a story perspective. They're mostly just the cameraman taking videos of clouds and looking around from the house that's under construction that he's seemingly made his home base of sorts. But the videos after are where the story takes a turn. The following 2 clips are shot on a completely different camera, one with a lot higher quality. The clips are short, but afterwards we switch to an entirely different perspective. For the next little bit, we follow who I will just call the boyfriend and his girlfriend named Elwin. Together they make their way deep into a forest for a weekend camping trip. Intercut are very quick static shots of random trees and objects throughout the forest. The timeline of this goes by quickly, but I do have some theories I'll get back to in a bit. But for now, later in these videos, we come across a very important and terrifying piece of information. Elwin and her boyfriend are exploring the area around their campsite and discover a large storm drain. But do you notice something? Elwin and her boyfriend have decided to camp out in the exact place from the beginning of this series, a place our cameraman frequents to film. Now you can imagine where this might be heading. For now, nothing too concerning happens though. The couple continues filming their weekend trip as normal, exploring all around and having fun, but it's short-lived with the inclusion of this next video.
Is this yours? Do I need to pack that, or is it like trash?
Whoa! What's that, like a mini DV tape?
I guess.
Was this in the bag?
No, that was just sitting up by our stuff.
No, it's not mine, but I'll take it.
Okay.
We'll see what's on it.
It seems that they weren't alone in the forest. The cameraman was most likely following and filming them all weekend, and he may have accidentally left behind one of his DV tapes. An even more disturbing part is that I believe that while they were away, the cameraman may have gone through their belongings, found the boyfriend's camera, and filmed some random videos of his own. It could explain why throughout this section we cut to unrelated forest shots that are very similar to what the cameraman likes to film. The two eventually leave, and we switch perspectives back to our cameraman, where he films something I wasn't quite ready for, and I don't think anyone will be. Our cameraman is holding someone captive. This is where I would say the series starts to really pick up in its horror. When I first saw this, I was shocked, but the video keeps going and we get introduced to another important player in our story. A hooded man stands at the entrance of the basement, looming over the cameraman and his captive. Quickly, the video glitches to footage of our cameraman's friend by the fire. He asks, "How are you even going to get in? Do you have a ladder?" Before cutting to the next video. Now obviously there's a lot more going on, and from here on out, our cameraman is only going to escalate his crimes. Switching back to Elwyn and her boyfriend's perspective, he asks Elwyn about her first winter camping experience and how it went. He asks her how she slept, and this is how she responds.
I slept fine. I only woke up like a few times. Did you sleep okay?
What you looking at?
Elwyn is obviously bothered by something, and as the clips go on, she only seems more and more anxious about something.
What's up? What's wrong? You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I was just having like weird dreams last night and they sort of bother me.
Oh, like... What?
I don't want to.
Elwyn?
What?
You want me to stop the camera and we can talk about it?
We cut back in time to one of the nights they were camping, and we can understand why she might have some trouble sleeping.
Elwyn,
What?
you hear that?
Hear what?
Something moving around out there.
It's probably just a deer.
It sounds like there's something out there, like walking.
It's okay, just go back to bed.
After their restless night of camping, we cut back to the cameraman's perspective. The first couple of minutes don't contain anything of note really, but once it turns to night, the cameraman makes his way back into his abandoned home. Once he enters the basement, we get another few shots of his hostage, and we can see that the bagman isn't actually restrained to anything. He is freely walking and crawling around the basement. Why hasn't he tried to escape? While the cameraman films, we can hear 2 loud claps coming from somewhere else in the basement. Something to keep in mind for later as well. We jump cut back to daytime and it looks like the cameraman is driving somewhere. We cut again and see that he's meeting up with another friend, different from the one by the campfire. He asks the cameraman if this girl is just okay with you filming her, before his friend tells him to stop recording. He continues to record and the friend starts talking about how he cares about the project and other vague statements. This is also when we learn that our cameraman is actually named Alex. He tells Alex that he doesn't want to continue this project and that he's worried about Alex for hanging out with Kevin, who I assume was his friend by the fire. A lot of information is dumped here in this short conversation, but it raises some important questions. Mostly, what is this project that Kevin and Alex are working on? Fast forwarding a bit through this video, Alex is back exploring nature until he eventually wanders into a tent in the woods, the same one Elwyn and her boyfriend were sleeping in. Alex continues to explore the surrounding area until he eventually finds Elwyn deep in the forest. He zooms his camera in on her, and it seems he's found his next subject to follow. Cut to nighttime. Alex is out in the woods with a flashlight. Slowly, he approaches their tent. He quietly investigates, eventually peeping into the tent, and we see Elwyn fast asleep. He shines the light on her for a brief second, and it looks like her eyes flutter open, but we jump cut once again outside of the forest, unsure what Alex has done. Skipping through some of the video, we're back in the basement, and we can see that the raccoon has decomposed even further. However, there is no sign of the bagman. Alex enters the area from earlier with the chair, but it's now littered with cleaning supplies. Again, we jump to daytime. Back in the forest, Alex films the bagman, out in broad daylight, wandering through the trees. We find ourselves back at the pink ribbon in the storm drain area from earlier expeditions, and it looks like the bagman is dumping something into the ravine. Now, a lot has taken place in this one tape from Alex. So far, we know that him and his friend Kevin are working on some sort of project together that we can assume involves kidnapping and now murdering people. Remember all the way back at Garage when Alex was watching a man from a distance? Well, my theory so far is that he is the bagman and Alex kidnapped him and he's keeping him in the abandoned house. But there are so many unanswered questions still. Why doesn't he run away? Who is the dark figure watching over Alex? Whose body were they dumping? Well, we're going to get a few answers very soon. The This is a very brief continuation of the last clip, but it gives a disturbing answer to one of our questions. After dumping the trash bags, we can see that the bagman is carrying a purple jacket, the same one from earlier that the girl in the mall was wearing. So, Alex kidnapped that girl, killed her, and is now dumping her body in the forest. But why is the bagman helping him? Jumping to our decaying raccoon, Alex shows us what was written on the piece of paper underneath it. It reads, "Please, God is watching." We cut forward to another clip titled Clap 2, and Alex is filming someone in a hazmat suit cleaning up blood on the floor, presumably from the girl he found in the mall earlier. At this point, the titles of the clips are getting strange, but they start to reveal more about the story the deeper we get into it. This next clip introduces a new person to the story, a girl this time, possibly the one Alex's unnamed friend was referring to earlier. Her and Alex are walking together at night. Eventually, they take a hike into the forest, and I start getting nervous. We anxiously watch them travel deeper and deeper into the woods, knowing that this can't possibly end well for this girl. We know what Alex is capable of, and this is where he is capable of acting on it. But before anything happens,
You've taken the pills and you are mine now. You will follow the instructions I give you. Any deviation from these instructions will result in pain. The instructions are as follows. 1 clap means you will bury a bag. 2 claps means you need to clean up. 3 claps means something needs to be moved. 4 claps means it's time to go.
this is the moment I knew this was different from any YouTube horror I had ever seen before. Everything about this is so hauntingly well crafted that I was just hooked. Seeing the bagman walked into the forest, followed by a man with a sledgehammer, then seeing his bloodied face was a haunting watch. So there's a lot to break down from this tape. First, it seems like Kevin has been drugging Alex and possibly even the bagman to condition them into obeying him. He gives these chillingly delivered instructions that contextualize earlier tapes. If you remember all the way back in DV100115, as Alex is filming the bagman, we can hear 2 loud claps. Listening to Kevin's instructions, that means someone needs to clean up. Even the titles of some videos like Clap 1 and 2 are given more context. In those videos, they were burying a bag and cleaning up the mess afterwards. My guess is also that the dark hooded figure appearing in these videos is Kevin, and he is now seemingly puppeteering Alex and the bagman to commit murders for him. A horrifying revelation, and it has been so expertly built up. But the story isn't over yet.
You want to take the sledgehammer? It's easier the other way.
So the girl from RLMR doesn't seem to be one of Alex and Kevin's victims, but one of their accomplices. Together we can assume that from the last clip, all 3 of them brought the bagman out into the woods and beat him to death with a sledgehammer. The clip cuts forward and we see Alex burning a Polaroid. As it burns, we get a blurry look at what the picture might be. And from what I can tell, it seems to be the girl that Alex brought to kill the bagman, lying dead on the floor, face bloodied, just like the bagman. So if they trusted her enough to help kill the bagman, why did they kill her? Alex is once again exploring the forest at night. As he does, we see a dim light coming from the darkness. Alex approaches it and it zooms in. The camera struggles to focus on whatever this is, but it looks to be a person. As it zooms in more, we can make out this unsettling mask that's just staring at Alex, staring at us. I want to give a little warning here. The next 2 videos are probably some of the most disturbing in the series. Kevin talks to Alex about a girl Alex has taken a liking to. Kevin then stands ominously outside of a house and we cut back to nighttime. It seems like Kevin and one other person are roaming outside the house and we cut to the next tape. Now, I cannot show some of this on YouTube. It's just too graphic, but I'll explain it as best as I can. For a minute, it seems like Alex is recording the ceiling of the basement. Suddenly, an image of a person covered in blood with a wooden spike rammed into their throat flashes on screen. We jump again and see the full message of what was written under the dead raccoon. It reads, "Please don't steal my tapes. Please. God is watching. And Alex sits in the woods doing his usual filming. As he explores deeper and deeper, something catches his attention. We follow him back into the woods, near one of his old crime scenes, and 2 police officers are searching the area. They've taped off the grounds, and it looks like Kevin and Alex's project has finally been found by authorities. Alex just sits there. I'm not sure if he's in shock or just morbidly curious as he always is, but he just sits there recording their investigation for a while before deciding to leave the woods. After this tape, we get a brief video filmed by the girl who was accompanying Alex into the woods to kill the bagman. She talks to her friend about how weird Alex is and how she doesn't understand what Kevin sees in him. Now switching back to Alex's point of view, the girl is yelling at Alex about losing the tape, saying that he's gonna kill him if he doesn't have that tape.
Fuck! This is gonna fucking kill you if you don't have that tape, right? We're supposed to know you didn't go to someone with it. Where the fuck are you going?
This next video is a strange one. It starts with this surreal sequence of someone crawling around covered by a white sheet, and I'm not entirely sure what any of it really means. But then we immediately switch back to our established handheld perspective. Alex is in this room covered with Polaroids, labeled with some very disturbing things. One picture of a person with a bag over their head reads "fucking slut," and maybe the words "Earl Hair" below it. Another picture of a person reads "whore cunt," with everything else scribbled out. And one final one reads what I believe says "Kevin with company."
I just say, oh yeah, it's just some autistic kid. I mean, that's not an excuse. I'm trying not to get the police involved here. What am I supposed to do? Understand that it's your house, it's your face on the tape, no? No, I'm not recording.
This audio file seems to be Alex's unnamed friend from earlier speaking to Kevin about the lost tape. From what I can infer, Kevin and Alex must have filmed themselves killing someone and Alex lost the tape. Maybe the one that Elwyn picked up during her trip. Now the police have gotten involved. We switch perspectives for the final time, back to Elwyn's boyfriend, who we now know as Matt. He secretly records himself as he knocks on the door to Alex and Kevin's abandoned home. Eventually, Alex answers and Matt starts to question him. Saying nothing, Matt continues to bombard him with questions. Alex refuses to answer, and Matt continues to pursue. He says that Liam sent him, the person who I assume is Alex's unnamed friend. He keeps drilling him, Alex retreating into the basement, and as he does, Alex and Kevin drive off into the woods to clean up for one final time. And after they do, the final video shows Alex revisiting the house for the last time. And that is Kept Here, in my opinion, the most disturbing series ever put on YouTube. And even outside of YouTube horror, this 2-hour collection of videos is still one of the most terrifying and disturbing found footage films I think I've ever watched. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't go over every little detail. 1, because there is so much to unpack with this story. 2, because it is extremely graphic. And 3, I want you to be able to discover things on your own. I highly recommend watching the re-uploaded version of this series. I'll link it in the pinned comment down below. And I also want to give a shout out to a channel called Night Fair for his video introducing me to this series. Now, with all of that over with, I'm Nightmare Movies. And I'll see you guys next time.